was everyone's weekend? I heard a lot of people got sick this weekend. Do you know?
Yeah, I was playing a tournament in Mexico, and like 15 athletes got food poisoning. So,
oh my God.
Yeah.
I saw Eric at the beach, and I was like, "Where's Gina?" And he was like, "She's playing." But I feel like you haven't played an international one in a minute.
Yeah, no, I haven't. So it was kind of nice to get a taste of it again. And that was Carly's first international tournament too. So she got to get
so fun.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Aguas Calientes is actually really.
But
cool
did you get sick?
No, luckily not. But
did Carly?
No, she was fine.
Borderline.
Yeah, but there was a couple other U.S. players that.
That's the worst.
Got the bug.
Yikes.
Montezuma's revenge. Not a good place to be.
Welcome back to the Bet on Her podcast. Today we have Stanford alum, All-American indoor volleyball player, Manhattan Beach hometown hero, and 2021 Summer Olympics gold medalist, Alix Klineman. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. Quite the intro. Thanks.
Yeah, Alix, we brought this up yesterday. Kelly was looking up some facts about you and how you played in an AVP tournament in high school with Kashi Walmer, who's our manager, and then also you and I played in. It was actually I think it was my first AVP event.
I think I played in one other qualifier maybe before you.
Yeah.
Do you remember Stephanie Berry?
Yes. Yeah.
We played in one together too. So
oh, that's right. Yeah.
But I never qualified.
No. Yeah. We got our asses handed to us. I'm pretty sure.
But it was fun.
It was fun. Yeah.
Good for the mems.
Yeah. But I think it's just really cool because I feel like personal story of Alix and I is like we've always been on opposing teams since we were like 11, like club volleyball, even high school a little bit, college. And there was one summer where we played on the youth national or the junior national team together. And like, we really became friends. And then ever since then, it's been, it's been a really,
we got in trouble for having too much fun together.
Yeah. Like, we couldn't be pepper partners anymore because
the coach split us up.
But anyway, I think it's been so amazing to kind of just see your progression of your career, and obviously like attaining the ultimate dream of your gold medal, is really cool. But I guess first and foremost, we want to start off with talking about your newest change in your life is being pregnant.
I know, so crazy.
How have you been feeling?
I've had a really easy pregnancy, but it's still like such a trip, like I look in the mirror every day and I'm like, what is going on with my body? Oh my God, I'm pregnant. So it's like, I'm 8 months pregnant, but I still have moments where I'm like, I can't believe I'm pregnant. So, but it's really cool. It's amazing to think about what your body can do and that you can grow a human inside you. It feels like some sci-fi thing going on, but it's real life.
Yeah. And you are having a boy, right?
Boy.
And tell us a little about the story about Teddy wanting a girl though.
Yeah. So Teddy, my fiance, has wanted a girl, like openly and outwardly said, I want only girls. I want 2 or 3 girls. And I'm like, well, it doesn't really work like that. And I feel like he was trying to speak it into existence, but I was like, I feel like the universe is going to be like laughing at you from up above and being like, you're going to get boys. So we did this gender reveal with a few of our closest friends, and we cut into a cake, and he's literally, someone like saw him. He was like crossing his fingers behind my back, like as we were cutting into the cake, because he wanted it to be a girl so bad. And then we have like video footage of it, but we cut into the cake and it's blue, and he's like, he just like melts down. It's so funny. He couldn't even hide it.
And then you have like the baby room coming along and everything.
It's finally turning into a nursery. Like a week ago, it was a blank room, and everybody was asking me like, oh, is it ready? And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like such a failure. But now we have wallpaper up, we have a crib, we have a dresser. So
that's really exciting.
Coming along.
Do you have any names picked out?
We have a list of like 5 names, but honestly, we're not sold on any of them. So we're hoping another name comes along that we're like, ooh, yeah, that's the one.
And then I kind of want to talk about the whole motherhood aspect. What are some things that you really want to instill and like teach your child, and kind of want to touch base a little bit too about like your mother too? Because I know that you have an amazing relationship with your mom, and I know that she's inspired you in a lot of ways. So I just kind of want to hear a little bit about that relationship and what you want to carry into your relationship with your child.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I've always thought my mom was an amazing mom, but now as I'm getting closer to it, I'm so lucky that she's so close by and that she'll be able to kind of like give me all the advice that I need. But Teddy keeps joking like our son better be a golfer or left-handed pitcher, and I'm like, no, he gets to do whatever he wants to do. And honestly, like that's really how I feel. I want him to find whatever he's passionate about and what he loves, and if that's sports, fine. Like if it's art or like engineering or whatever. So I just hope he finds his path and he's happy, and obviously we're going to do everything we can to be loving and supportive, and I'm sure Teddy will make us all laugh along the way.
We love Teddy.
I
Yeah.
know.
Shout out to Teddy if he's
I
listening
know,
to this.
everybody loves him.
He's the glue guy.
He always says, fun finds me.
Which is true.
I know, it's so true. That's why I hate it.
With your relationship with your mom, because we all know that you're a cooking aficionado,
Right.
a food, novice, and you've been inspired not only by your mother, but a lot of what you've learned from playing overseas in Italy too. So talk about where it all stemmed from a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, we definitely had good meals, and my mom cooked like 28 days a month, I would say. Like we went out for special occasions growing up, but we ate most nights in, and we always had dinner around the table as a family. But I was never like, I loved eating, but I never really got into cooking. And I remember about to leave for college, and I was like, shoot, I don't even know how to make anything. I was like, Mom, teach me how to make pasta and eggs, the basics. But then it wasn't really till I went overseas and I got to eat all the Italian food. And I wasn't even a big Italian food person, because I feel like pizza and pasta here are kind of like, unless you go to an amazing restaurant, they're kind of average. But you just realize like the quality of their ingredients, like the history of their recipes, just the freshness of their food. And like I fell in love with their food and their culture. And every time I tried something that I liked, I made someone teach me that recipe. That like became a thing there. So I was able to come back and make the recipes that I love the most for the people that I loved. And so I really like started to love hosting and entertaining. And I feel like it just morphed into this whole thing. Like it started from me loving food to then being in countries where they had amazing food cultures, and then me wanting to try it. And then just, I don't know. I love craving a food and being like, okay, I'm going to make it so I can eat it, whereas if you're limited to restaurants, you can't always find what you're looking for. So
Would you ever consider doing a cookbook or a cooking show?
I feel like a cookbook would be so rad. I have a little bit of imposter syndrome about it, because I'm like, I haven't gone to culinary school. There's people that know more about food than me. So I don't know, like there's a part of me that's like, I'm not qualified enough, but I also feel like I would love it so much. And like, I've tried so many interesting foods, and I obviously have strong opinions when it comes to food. So it'd be fun to share.
Your Instagram is basically your cookbook.
I know.
I get all your recipes from there.
I drool. I'm like, I want this meal. Like, how do I get this meal?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even know if this is what the content that people want, but it's the content that they're getting.
We like it.
I want
we
it.
want it.
I know,
Please,
like,
more, please.
5% volleyball, like 80% food, and like 15% other stuff.
Is there an Italian chef that you look up to for your recipes?
Well, there's one food blogger, I think you know about him, but his name's Nino, and I found him during the pandemic. And at some point, I think we like started like DMing a little bit, but like he's from Sicily, and he has the most authentic recipes. And it's really cool because in his highlights, he teaches you like step-by-step video tutorial of how to make something. So I love like seeing what he's making and trying to copy or emulate it or whatever. But I mean, I follow so many food accounts. It's like impossible to name them all.
Would you say Italian's your favorite food to eat and cook, or are you?
I feel like I'm the most comfortable cooking it because I lived there for 3 years, and I feel like I learned a lot from them. So I feel like I can cook it in a decently authentic way. But I love all types of food. Like there's not one genre of food that I like, and then everything else is like, like there's not one food that I don't like, literally. So I'll try anything.
Your branzino is really good.
I know. We had a good branzino night.
Yeah, we did. It was a good.
I
We
also,
learned how to debone it.
I also heard you make really amazing cookies.
Oh yeah. So every year we do like a cookie box. My mom, my sister, and I, we like go through and we like debate recipes. Sounds so nerdy, but we like go through a million cookbooks and we figure out like 7 to 10 recipes that we think are really special and that people are going to enjoy. And then we prep, I would say, starting like 3 days in advance, and we start making all the cookie doughs. And then day of, we just bake like back to back to back to back. And you need at least a couple of ovens because you have one pan with like the cookie dough balls ready to go. And like the minute that something comes out, you put something back in because we like to deliver them fresh and like day of. So it's a fun tradition.
It's like 4,000 cookies in a day.
I don't know how many it is, but like this past year, my sister was gone. So my mom and I had to do it all. And my back was like killing me.
How much
It was
butter?
labor.
You probably use so much butter.
I have
And
no
sugar.
idea. Yeah.
man.
It's
I feel like I would have a
not the
tummy ache
healthiest.
from eating all of
But
the
I
dough.
barely ate any this year because I feel like I was working so hard.
You needed Maddie
know.
to help you out.
I know. I did
Dropping the ball.
freeze some cookie dough. So I'm like, I still have a little bit of cookie dough left over, and occasionally like I'll put like an eggnog cookie dough ball in the oven and like have like a random holiday cookie.
Yeah, I feel like you need to make this cookbook because you could be like the Chrissy Teigen of athletes.
Yeah.
Right.
With your cookbooks, you know?
Such a great idea.
Yeah.
Book.
And like, okay, so if you had one recipe on the top of your head right now, that would be like your highlight recipe. What would that be?
What would be the cover of your phone?
Yeah,
I feel
the
like
cover.
people, well, the cover, that's so hard. But I feel like people know me for my risotto, which is one of the first Italian recipes I learned. And like, it's actually such a simple recipe. And once you learn it, then you can make it with any ingredient. Like you can do a mushroom risotto or a butternut squash or whatever. Last night I made a lemon risotto, but that was the first recipe I learned in Italy, and one of my friends taught it to me. So that's like a really special one, and everyone else loves it. So that would definitely be one that's highlighted. I don't know if it would be a cover recipe though, but I don't know. I need to think about it.
Where do we sit on sauces? Because I know sauces are a big deal in Romanian culture and
Right.
cuisine. So what is it like for you?
Dana's Romanian, by the
You
way.
are.
Yeah.
Sauces like for
Anything.
anything. I mean, I feel like when it comes to Italian sauces, like you definitely can't skimp. Like if you're going to make like a ragu sauce, you got to start early, like let it simmer, let the flavors develop.
So not store bought.
No, oh no, no,
Never.
no.
Not Prego.
Yeah.
That's trash.
I try to make everything from scratch when I can. Like that's honestly my approach to cooking is just like, I can't remember what podcast it was, but it was like about nutrition, and it was just saying you can eat whatever you want as long as you make it yourself. And I feel like that really resonated with me because you're not going to put like 2 cups of oil in the pan. If when you see like what you're pouring in there, you're like, no, that's way too much. That's not healthy. So I feel like when you're cooking, everything's going to be moderately healthy and you're using real ingredients. So at that point, you don't really have to stress about how healthy is this? How many calories is this? Is this like, you know, right for my diet or whatever? So
Yeah, my mom makes tamales every year
Oh, I
for
know.
Christmas.
I've had them.
They're pretty good, but watching the process of that, and like there's so much lard that goes into those. And I think my mom started to just grease her own bacon and then use that bacon
Yeah.
grease as lard
Yeah.
instead of just buying. So yeah, there's definitely, I like that. That's a good way to look at cooking. It does take a lot more time and it's a lot more work, but it's definitely worth it. And I'm sure
Yeah.
it tastes a lot better too.
I don't mind the time. I mind the cleanup.
As I said.
So I'm always like, Teddy, Kay, I cooked, you cleaned, right?
Does he take part in cooking too?
He's like he's a good sous chef.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And he also is good at barbecuing. So if we're like barbecuing steak or chicken, like that's his area.
Yeah, his specialty.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Any cravings? Any like strange, unique cravings?
Teddy would say hot Cheetos, but I've always liked hot Cheetos. I just feel like I've had less self-control going into it. I was like, I'm not going to be that person that just trashes their body because, you know, you see people eating whatever, and obviously you're growing like a baby. So I want to nourish it and eat healthy. But the first trimester, I just had no self-control, and I finally understand why people eat the way that they eat. But I was craving so many carbs. I think you just get like, I don't know if you get low blood sugar more easily or something, but I'd hit a point and be like, I need carbs right now. And then after the first trimester, it settled down. But I was hoping I'd have some aversions so that I wouldn't be tempted to eat like every single thing, but I've had literally 0 aversions. So
So Flamin' Hot's the only weird craving.
I would say I'm eating a little bit more sweets than normal, but I always ate sweets. So I don't know.
I want to shift gears a little bit here, but getting into more of like the Italy side of things with your wedding planning too.
Right.
How's that been going?
So originally we were supposed to get married this summer, but obviously since I'm pregnant, I am not trying to pop a baby out and get married like 2 months later. And it would be a lot. And I want to feel like myself enough to, enjoy it and to celebrate it and be in the moment. So we pushed it back to next summer, but it's the same venue in Lake Como that we were planning on. So it'll be really fun to drag all our friends out there and celebrate.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've never been.
I haven't either.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there. I think has it been challenging to kind of wedding plan from the U.S. to Italy, or?
Well, we got a Italian wedding planner that somebody I know used. So I'm hoping that it'll go smoothly. To be honest, we haven't planned very much because it's still pretty far out. It's over a year. So she's like, I'll check back in 4 or 5 months. I'm like, okay. So we'll see.
Italian time.
Yeah, I know. Italians are always late.
Do you and you're also taking some Italian classes right now, right?
I was. So I had a tutor and I was taking classes twice a week on Zoom because I was going to Italy back in February and I wanted to be able to speak better than I did in the past. And I was really proud of myself for sticking with it for a few months, but then I pooped out. So I've been taking a break, but I think also just my energy right now and my focus is not where it normally is. So I'm just building in a little more rest time for myself right now. Yeah.
What's a simple Italian greeting that you like to say?
Ciao, tutto bene.
Tutto bene.
Tutto bene.
Oh, I like that.
I feel
And then it's like ça va in French, like ça va, ça va. So you can say like tutto bene and you say like tutto bene. It's like all is good, all is good.
All is Gucci. How do you say that?
all is
Tutto Gucci.
Perfect.
It's very similar to Romanian.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's ciao is the same greeting, and
Oh,
then you
wow.
say ce me fac.
Oh, yeah. It's really similar to Portuguese too.
Yeah.
Because I played 3 years in Italy and I was embarrassed at how little I learned. But I think part of it was just because a lot of my teammates spoke English. So every time I struggled, they were like, oh, let's just talk in English. This is easier. And I'm like, no, but I'm trying to learn. And then I went to Brazil and hardly anybody spoke English. Like I think I had 2 teammates and maybe 1 trainer. My head coach didn't speak any English. Most of my teammates didn't speak any English. So I was like, if I don't figure this out now, like I'm going to be sitting in my room for 2 years, so I got a tutor right away and I just immersed myself in it. And so I actually learned Portuguese way better than I learned Italian. But then I feel like now my Portuguese is helping me learn Italian because they're so similar.
Yeah, it's a Latin language, the origin. So Italian, French. Or I'm sorry,
But French, I didn't feel like was similar to Italian.
Yeah,
I studied that in high school and I feel like it didn't help me. But
yeah. So we Romanians understand Italians and Italians Romanians in terms of speaking and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
so interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they were that similar.
Speak English and a little bit of broken Spanish
You took some Romanian.
and a little bit of Romanian.
Oh yeah?
Bună ziua, ce me faci?
Yeah, very good.
What does that mean?
It says hello,
Bună ziua was like good morning.
good morning, good day, and then it's how are you? Ce
Yeah.
me faci?
Ce me fac.
You have such good like intonation when you speak. I feel like you would be fun to listen to in another
Obrigado. I try to really enunciate my foreign language. Yeah. I'm not good. I was not good at foreign language. So you doing Italian is
I'm not either. I have to try really hard at it.
But you really work at it. Like
I do, but
yeah.
I'm not like naturally talented when it comes to languages.
Some people are.
I know some people really
Yeah.
are.
I think with Italian too, what I learned when I was over there was you have to speak in their fluctuation or they don't understand you.
Yeah.
If you're just like, come stai? They're like, non capito. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. You're like, come stai?
Yeah.
Like you have to
almost have to sound ridiculous. Like you have
Exactly.
to use that like ridiculous Italian accent and then they're like, oh, okay. Like
Oh my gosh.
and then you feel kind of stupid while you're doing it, but then they understand you eventually.
Kind of going back to like your indoor career, a little bit of volleyball here, but kind of talking about how you spent 12 years with the national team indoor with those 3 cycles and then making kind of the switch to beach. Like what was that decision process like?
Right. Well, I think honestly, once I got to college, like I just assumed I was on this indoor path and if I worked hard enough, like all my dreams would come true. And that's just not the reality of sports. Like, it doesn't necessarily matter how hard you work. Like, you're not entitled to winning, and there's so much that has to go right for you to be able to win like a title or a championship or a league or whatever, and some of that is luck too. And so I was with the national team program for Beijing, London, and Rio. So I was basically on a roster of like the top 25, but I never made the final 12 for the Olympics. And obviously that's the main goal. And it's really disheartening to not make that roster. And I don't know. I remember getting cut from the Rio squad, like actually a little bit more ahead of the Olympics than I had in the last 2 quads. And then I was playing overseas and I was like, what am I even doing out here if there's no Olympic dream, And some people might be fine with that, but for my personality, like I just need like a really lofty goal to go after for it to feel worth it and to be away from my family. And like, I loved living and playing there, but it's still a sacrifice, And so I think in the back of my head, I was like, oh, one day I'm going to try beach, if this doesn't work out. And it kind of just came along sooner than I was expecting. Like I was hoping I would be successful with indoor first. And eventually I was like, maybe, it's time to make this switch and get like a fresh start and just see how that, like, how my game fits into the beach game. And a lot of people were telling me, no, like keep playing indoor. You're still young, your best years are still ahead of you. But I don't know, something in my gut was just telling me like, you got to just try it. And so I kind of just walked away from indoor overnight and came home, like didn't really know what I was doing. I remember I met with you one time at Source. I was like, Gina, like, how does this work? Like, how do you get partners? And I had no idea what I was doing. And I didn't have a plan. Like I didn't come to the beach and say, okay, I'm going to do this for this amount of time and then hopefully get this. Like I just threw myself in it. I remember being like, I'm going to take a couple months when I get back from Brazil to just decompress before I start training on the beach. And I went to one practice and the next thing I know, I signed up for my first AVP for like 5 days later. So I just jumped into it.
Yeah, you really did.
It's basically like, playing indoor on the sand.
Yeah.
Zero shots.
So then what was your first, like, so then you came on the tour 2017, right?
2017. And I played Huntington.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. That was with Jace Harden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
And then, so 2017, it was your rookie year. Then you get picked up by April, and then you go on your Olympic qualifying run.
Yeah. I mean, I played with a handful of partners in 2017, and it was like they were all better than me because they all were experienced and they knew the beach game. And I learned something from everybody that I played with. But I remember I ran into April. I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard this story, but I ran into her at Stagecoach and she had just broken up with Carrie and she needed a partner and she like kind of planted the seed. I think she had a couple beers. So like, I was like, did she really mean that? Like the next morning I woke up, I was like, did I dream that? Like, so, but she was like, get better first. And so that really lit a fire under my bum to get better that summer and to just train as hard as I possibly could. Cause I knew like, okay, if I get better enough, then she'll consider me as a partner. And so then I think in the fall she trained with a few different players and I was the lucky winner.
What was your motivation to kind of go all in and submerge yourself into making that Olympic run for beach volleyball?
I think the Olympics were the motivation. Like I've just always wanted to reach the pinnacle of our sport. And I think for beach volleyball and indoor volleyball too, like the Olympics are it. I mean, for NBA, it's winning, a championship and like in the pro league, it's not the Olympics, but for us, it's the Olympics. And so that's just always been such a driving force. And I feel like until I could say that I had made it, it's like there's something big box to be checked off still.
And obviously, so you checked the box off, right, of getting a solid partner for that Olympic run. What were some other things that you guys did as a team or individually that kind of helped shape your pathway towards that?
Well, I remember like one thing that left me feeling really unsatisfied on the indoor side is I just felt like I never really got to be the type of player that I knew I could be. And I never felt fully like myself or super comfortable just because you're in this big system, like there's a lot of girls and I don't know, like it didn't really give me the space to be myself. And so I remember meeting with April and Nicole Davis, our sports psych, and just being like, I want to compete the way that I know how to compete and the way that's best for me. And I want to be like, let's be open and honest and like be good partners and be there for each other and be able to be vulnerable. And like, we set that standard so early on that I feel like there was never anything that was kind of like left unsaid between us. And I think that was really a strength of ours, is like, we gave each other really honest feedback at practices, like after tournaments, and it was never personal. It was like, we trusted that both of us had the same goal, which was to qualify for the Olympics and eventually to win the Olympics. But I think we just built this trust early on, like, okay, you be you, I'm going to be me. Like, we're both going to trust that we have the best intentions, and like, we never look back.
Yeah, I think that's a good mentality, because I think as women too, we can probably sometimes take things, we're emotional beings and we can take things a little personally. So to have that, that clean slate of honesty and all that is really important for sure.
Any imposter syndrome there?
Honestly, I think I really embraced the fact that I didn't know that much, and I knew that I had a lot to improve on, and that there's just so much room for growth, that it was almost liberating and freeing to be able to say, okay, I'm not very good and I know it, and like, teach me everything that you can. And I felt like I was really receptive to April's feedback, to Jen's feedback, to Angie's feedback, because I just knew like, I'm just starting out, and there's so much stuff that I don't know. And so I almost think that helped me, just like the pressure subsided a little bit. I mean, I had the pressure of feeling like I didn't want to let April down, but besides that, I was like I'm starting out, like, there's a lot I don't know. I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to learn as much as I can and like see how far it takes me.
Yeah, you allowed yourself to be vulnerable and live in the moment then.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
I wanted to ask a little bit more about some of the menstrual cycle coaching that you, or I don't know exactly what you would call it, but the person that you worked with that helped you during your Olympic run with, helping manage, balance, learn more about your cycle and how you can train, and probably diet stuff too that's related towards it.
Totally, yeah.
'Cause I think that's something that most women don't learn about and should, because it's really important. So I kind of wanted to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, women's health is just something I've become really passionate about, like, not necessarily on purpose, but just through my own like personal journey. I feel like I've learned so much, and there's so much information that's not common knowledge to girls and women, and it should be. And I was on birth control for like 13 years starting in high school, and I feel like a doctor just like said, here, take it, and never looked back. And I mean, I could go on to a whole other tangent about why birth control should not be prescribed so easily, but basically I found myself wanting to get off the pill, but every time I did, I got cystic acne. Like, my body just totally rejected trying to go off. And so then I think it was like a couple years before the Olympics, but basically my agent was like, oh, there's this company, Orico, and they're doing this program with female athletes about how to basically train in sync with their menstrual cycle. And that really intrigued me, because I had already been listening to like a lot of podcasts to try to figure out, how to be healthier, how to support my body, not just anybody, but like a female body, And I was listening a lot about birth control and the effects it had on your body, but I was always afraid to go off right before the Olympics, because I was just like, I need professional help. Like, I don't want to take this huge risk with my body while I'm also under so much stress and trying, to perform at my best. And so it kind of was just very serendipitous, the way, like, the timing of it all. And so I got hooked up with this hormonal doctor in London, and she basically helped me transition off of the pill. She like gave me all this diet advice about how to eat according to like the part of your cycle you're in. So like, whether you're in your luteal phase or whatever, like, there's different nutritional advice. And then also even just the way you lift, like, there's certain weeks of your cycle that you're more injury prone. So it was like, don't try to max deadlift this week, like, take it a little easier if you can. And also I learned like there's a huge link between injuries and birth control. And I feel like for athletes that should be common knowledge. And I feel like a lot of people don't know that. So there was just a lot of things that I learned that now I feel a little bit like obligated and like passionate about sharing and spreading that information, because I just think it's such vital, basic essential information that everyone should know, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about this right before you walked in the room today, and we're like, isn't it amazing how as women, we only feel good like one
I
week
know.
out of our whole cycle?
I know.
But I guess what's like a couple pieces of knowledge you could share with us and our listeners as far as like one thing with each of the 4 stages?
Well, I ended up like writing down for each like week of my cycle what foods, so it's like called cycle syncing. So that's one thing that I started doing when I was going off the pill. It just helps support your body because you're basically on like a 28-day cycle with your body. And so you have to kind of think about that when you think of, you know, working out and recovery and food. And so I would make these lists of like, okay, this week I should be trying to incorporate these foods. This week I should be incorporating these foods. And I would keep it in my glove compartment of my car. So when I would go grocery shopping, I'd like pull it out and I'd be like, okay, I need to try to have like bell peppers this week, or, you know, like more leafy greens or more fish or whatever. And so that was just a way that I could kind of cycle sync and make it fit into my lifestyle. I wasn't like crazy strict about it where I'd only eat the foods on that list, but I was just trying to make a lot of little changes that would add up to meaningful changes.
How would you navigate then when you were traveling overseas? Like, were you still?
I mean, I wasn't so strict about it, but, and actually when I first went off the pill, it was right at the beginning of COVID. So I was home a lot and I had a lot of control over my diet and things like that. But, you know, I try to do it within reason. If it's going to cause me stress, like it's probably not going to help at that point. So
I think you should do a cookbook, and I think you should do a book on this.
yeah.
Women's health.
Yeah, women's health.
But that's like another
And
thing that I
combine it.
feel like imposter syndrome about, because like I'm not a hormonal, like I'm not an endocrinologist. I'm not a specialist on this, you know? So
Yeah.
But you could share your personal experiences
For
and
sure.
what you've learned. And
for sure.
with that person that you were working with or with that company, did you find, was it just general knowledge as far as all women and these are the stages of the cycle, or was it like very independent upon your hormones and your
Right.
results?
Well, I was lucky because I would have Zoom sessions with her every 2 weeks. So I'd check in about how I'm feeling and what's working and what's not working. So I got very individualized advice, but I think there are a lot of programs that are kind of developing. Like I know, for example, there's a book, The Woman Code, which is like where I would recommend everybody starts like reading that book. It changed just
Kelly's writing it down.
Write it down.
Taking notes.
It really did change my life, and it like opened my mind to so many things that I didn't even realize were factors in my health. So, but I was actually talking to the woman who founded it because she knows that I read it and that it like made a big impact on me. But she's relaunching her app, and soon it's going to have where like you plug in all your symptoms, and it's almost like having like a virtual doctor, and they're going to be able to advise like different supplements or different diet advice, or I don't know, like they're going to be able to kind of tailor it towards you and not just like, oh, you're a female, this is probably what you need.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look
I'm
into
excited
that.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every body, individual being is very different from everybody else. You know, my symptoms are my symptoms and everything else is different. There are some things that are common, but like a majority of the time, we're just separate. It's different,
Totally.
you know, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Or then we all get synced up and have the same cycle.
I know.
That would be fun.
Or not fun.
Yeah, or not. So you get this Olympic gold medal, right? And I feel you guys played in a few tournaments after that. And I want to ask, like, kind of like, at what point did you guys finally get to enjoy, you know, reflect and just really process that ultimate goal that you had finally achieved?
Right.
And how did you do it?
How did we reflect?
And just like enjoy.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was such an amazing moment, but there was like no breathing time after the Olympics. We came right back and we had Manhattan AVP. And I remember just feeling like so exhausted. We did have a little celebration, but I just remember going into Manhattan and being like, I'm so tired, but I want to win more than ever because I know that these are all the people that have been watching and supporting us over the last few years. And it was really important to showcase to them why we won and that we were deserving of it. So we really had to like push through so much mental and physical fatigue. And then I think we had Chicago and there was like some lingering injuries. And then we went to Sardinia for World Tour finals and We got third, but it was still just like pushing through this crazy fatigue. I think everybody thinks that the Olympics come at the end of your season, and that's not how it is. Like, it's kind of right in the middle. So I would say like it wasn't really until the season was over that we were able to like sit back and relax and celebrate it and enjoy it. But I mean, it was really cool to come home and play in front of everybody, but I think it was like really challenging at the same time.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And so what did you do to finally celebrate after the season was over?
Well, I went on a vacation. So after Sardinia, I met my mom and sister in Paris, and we did like a week or a week and a half in Paris and just traveled, shopped, ate everything, drank a lot of wine.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I have one question before we close. At what point did you know you were going to win the gold medal, or did you just?
I honestly don't think I ever like looked very far ahead. We were very present during the Olympics, which I think worked to our advantage. I do remember, I think it was like in the second set of the finals being like, oh my God, we're going to win the Olympics. And then they served me and I shanked the ball and I was like, Alix, like back to the present. And it just goes to show like how important being focused on like the present and that point is, because the minute I started to take like a broader view and perspective, it messed me up. And then I remember I lost like a few points and I was like, oh my God, Alix, like get back in the zone. You didn't win yet. So, but I remember having this thought of like, oh my God, we're about to do this. And it was crazy.
And you did it. So cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I have a question. Who is the most, this is completely off topic. I just need to know, who is the most famous person in your contact list?
Oh my God, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have a few. Rank them.
Whoa.
I don't have a few. I'm trying to think.
She's got 5.
I would have to think about or like go through it.
Any other athletes, famous athletes?
Singers.
Taylor Swift.
Well, okay. The most famous person that's DM'd me was Amy Schumer during the Olympics.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That was really cool. And she was like just so vocal about supporting me in April. And it kind of came out of nowhere. It wasn't like somebody was like hooked us up and we were chatting or whatever. Like she just started posting about us. And I actually got a DM on the day of the finals. And she's like on a farm. And she's like filming a bunch of goats. And I'm like, what the F is she sending me right now? And she's just like panning around the farm and she's like, y'all are the goats. And like that's all the video was. And I have it saved like on my phone, but it's so funny. And she was following me in April, and then I was like, oh, she for sure unfollowed us by now, but she like still looks at my stories sometimes. I'm like, oh, I feel kind of cool still.
That's pretty cool.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a story. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I have that. I was like, I need to save this video before it disappears.
Yep. So we're nearing the end. I wanted to ask you this question, which is, how do you take a bet on yourself, or how have you taken a bet on yourself?
Well, I think honestly switching to beach was like one giant bet on myself. I mean, everyone was telling me not to do it and that it was too much of a risk. And I think it just goes to show when you believe in yourself and when you put everything you have into something, like that is the most powerful way of showing up, you know? And so I think I bought in, and that's all that really mattered. And I think just that conviction and that self-belief is so important. And so I would say like just taking that leap of faith and jumping into the beach game and not knowing what was going to happen, like that was my way of being like, I believe in myself and I can do it.
And then the last piece here is, I'm going to open the mic and the floor to you if there's anything on your heart or mind that you want to share with us here in the room or with our listeners.
I don't think so. I mean, this is fun. Like, I mean, I'm super close with Kelly and Gina, so this was just felt like a cool conversation. Thanks for having me.
I wish we had a couple more hours.
I know.
No, we'll have to have you back
digging
on.
in. We should do a cooking show.
We should.
Yeah.
We'll go to your house and cook.
I know. Sorry, I
No.
derailed that plan.
Oh, it's all good. We're gonna make it happen though.
Yeah, we should.
And this is the Bet on Her podcast.
Wait. And cut. Boom.
So
Cookbook.
official.
She's making a cookbook.
I'm going to keep that in the recording.